Hello everyone. I'm going to demonstrate how to do Project 6. You will have already seen a brief lecture about legibility, about what it means. Project 6 is one of those learn it by doing it. It's a very hands-on exercise. The overall goal of this project is to design some reference pages for yourself, some reference sheets that you should be able to look back on as you progress in your design career. And by getting down into the nitty-gritty of text style, text size, and text color contrast, you're going to learn a lot about how these things affect legibility. We're going to work entirely in InDesign for this project. InDesign is a page layout program designed specifically for laying out consistent pages. And you're going to use two typefaces that are included with Adobe Creative Suite. Myriad Pro, the regular weight and regular width, and Minion Pro, the regular weight and regular width. If you are using Adobe Creative Suite, you have access to these typefaces. So let's start talking about specifics. Here is your brief. Page 1 is are your directions. You'll notice I have broken out the directions by page. There's a master page direction, page 1, page 2, page 3, and then your final deliverables list. You're just going to give me this 3-page document. No mounting is required. Page 2 are some reference, a schematic for your document, page 2, and a sample of what it's going to look like. And page 3 is a schematic, a color breakdown, and a sample of page 3. So let's fire up InDesign and dive into this. So within InDesign, you're going to, pardon me, I'm having some window troubles here. Within InDesign, you're going to create a new document. I want you to turn off facing pages. If you're in North America and your printer uses US letter, then use US letter. If you're outside of North America, of course, and your printer uses A4 size, then of course use A4 size. I'm going to use letter size because I'm in North America. Portrait orientation. This is the tall orientation. We'll leave columns set to one column, one gutter, and our margins. These are your overall page margins. I want you to set them to 5 picas, top, left, and right. If your if your chain icon is selected, that means it will make all 4 boxes the same. If you unclick this, then you can set your bottom to be 6p6, 6 picas, 6 points. Hit OK, and you will get a page that looks like this. Now, what if your preferences in InDesign are not set for picas? Well, I'm going to show you how to set your unit preferences for picas. So without a document open, go to InDesign, Preferences, Units and Increments. And up here, you'll have preferences. These are all the different types of preferences. You go to your preferences for units and increments, and you set your horizontal measure to picas and your vertical measure to picas. Picas are a system of typographic measurement. It precedes the metric system. Typographers and designers were the first people, as far as I know, to set up a worldwide standardized measurement system. They did it long before imperial measurement was standardized, and they did it long before the metric system was invented. There are 12 points to a pica, and the points and pica system is very specifically set up to have the fine degree of measurement needed when you're dealing with type. And it remains an international standard of measurement amongst designers and typographers today. So 12 points for a pica, and digital typesetting software uses 72 points per inch if you're used to inches like I am. So you set your preferences to picas. Let's again set up our document, turn off facing pages. I'm going to do US letter. Margins, 5 picas. If this is on, it will populate all 4 of them to be 5 picas. You want to turn this off because we want our bottom margin to be larger. And we're going to set that to be 6 picas, 6 points. Hit OK. Our page looks something like this. Now, we are going to set up something in our master pages. I'm going to delete. I'm going to hide other palettes so that we can just talk about the pages for a minute. Master pages are a very useful feature of InDesign. They are a little confusing at first. So we're just going to set up one footer in our master page. What this will do, your footer is going to be your name, the project number, and an automatic page number. And what this is going to do is include this element on every new page, automatically numbering the pages. So, in your pages palette, you have the actual document pages. These are the real pages in the document, your page 1, page 2, page 3, etc. Up above this double line, you have master pages. Master pages are a template. A master page item will appear on every page that has that master page applied. So you'll notice when I click between the pages, first of all I have to double click. You can see that which is active because the little page icon turns blue and the page number highlights. So I want to go to my master pages and I want to set up my footer. I'm now working in the master page. It looks exactly the same because right now my master page is completely blank. I am going to pull over a guide, and I'm going to pull down another guide. And I'm going to set up where exactly I want my footer to appear. So I want it to align to the left and right of my margin. The magenta line are the margins. And I want it to start 6 points below my bottom margin. So I'm going to create a text frame, and I'm going to draw it to those guides. And I am going to type, what did I tell you guys? I'm going to type my footer. So, first going to use your name, Professor King. I'm going to set this to Myriad Pro, bold, 8 points. So this is going to be small, bold type. Okay, Professor King, I'm going to hit a tab. And let's zoom in on this so that you can see what is going on. I just hit the tab key on the keyboard, which advanced it a little bit. I'm going to go to type, and I'm going to show hidden characters. And you can see now there's a little double arrow, or what French speakers would think of as a quote, as a close quote. That indicates that there's a tab there. I'm going to type Project 6, hit tab one more time, and then I'm going to put in an automatic page number. This is a bit of software InDesign provides that will automatically place the page number there and update the page number automatically. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. So you go to Type, Insert Special Character, Markers, Current Page Number. Now, it's going to look like a capital A. That's because I'm in Master Page A. You do not type a capital A. You don't go to your keyboard and type Shift A. You have to follow the procedure I just showed you to get this special marker character. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of that type, and I'm going to go to my tabs. I'm going to pull up my my tab stops palette. Now I'm having a bit of trouble because this is one of those that I know as a keyboard command, and I can never remember where it actually is in the menus because I just used the keyboard command. Here it is, Type Tabs, which is Shift Command T. This gives you this palette right above your text box. This is where you enter all of the tab stops, where you want these tabs to go. So we have one tab here, one tab here. I'm going to set up a tab stop here, and I'm going to set up a tab stop way over on the right. I'm going to switch that one to be right aligned, and I'm going to bring it all the way over. Okay, so my automatic page number will align to the right-hand margin. This one I want to put roughly in the middle. I'm going to make it at 20 picas. So this can be a little fussy and weird. Basically, the thing is you are putting in a tab stop. You need a tab character in the text, and for every tab character, it goes to the next tab stop. Let's say you have sort of get screwed up and have extra ones in here. You see now I have 1, 2, 3, and then I had that other one over there. If you accidentally put a tab stop in the wrong place, you grab it on the ruler and drag it off the ruler. And that that deletes it. So one tab goes to this tab stop, second tab goes to this tab stop. All right, so all of that is to set up our page footer, which is in our master page. I'm going to turn off the guides for a second. You can see this is what my master page looks like. Now this next thing is very important. You have to go back to your document page. I'm in the master page now. The master page is a template for everything that will appear on every document page. I go back to page 1, and you'll notice that my footer is there. Now let's say I'm going to design something. Let's say I'm making a book about shapes for school children, and I'm going to have on page 1 I'm going to have a blue square. I'm going to set up a page 2. I'm going to have on my page 2, I'm going to have a red circle. And on my page 3, I am going to have a yellow triangle. It's, you know, this book is sure to be a bestseller. I have no doubt about it. So here are my 3 pages of my book so far, and you'll notice page 1 has an automatic page number of 1. Page 2, automatic page number of 2. I didn't do this. Because I set up automatic page numbering on the master page, it just did it. And page 3 has an automatic page number of 3. Now let's say I have worked on my masterpiece books about colors and shapes, and the editor comes back to me and says, you know, we should really have the red square, the red circle as page 1. So I can move this within my page palette, and we should really have the blue square as page 3. Alright, so I have rearranged my pages here. And if you look at the page numbers, the red circle, which was page 2, is now automatically renumbered to be page 1. The yellow triangle, which was page 3, automatically renumbered to be page 2. The blue square, which was automatically numbered to, which was page 1, has been automatically renumbered to be page 3. So you can start to see here how useful this footer and automatic page numbering are. So just be sure as you work on this project that you are once you have set up your footer in the master page, make sure that you are then working in page 1. And remember, it is highlighted which page you're on in the Pages palette, and also if you set up automatic page numbering correctly, you will get an actual page number here. In the master page, it says A. In page 1, it says page 1. So let's turn our guides back on. By the way, when I'm turning guides on and off, that is Command and the colon key. Command colon shows and hides guides and page margins. This is a very, very useful command. So at this point, after you have built your master page, you want to save your file. Remember, save early, save often. I'm going to, what instructions did I give you? Type 1, project 6, and your last name and first initial. And, you know, I've already done this once, so I'm going to call it A. Alright, so we are ready to dive into the actual document pages. Be sure that you're on page 1, not the master page, and then we can get to formatting. So the first thing you need to do in page 1 is grab your type tool, create a text box. This will create a text box and drag it to your margins. If we hide the guides, you will see now I have a text box that matches my margins. You want to go to Object, Text Frame Options, which is also Command B. You want to set this to 2 columns. This means within this text frame there will be 2 columns. Leave the gutter at 1 pica. That's a good value. And now we want to bring in the text from the text file I've given you. So do File, Place, with your text cursor flashing inside this text box. File, Place, and you go to the Project 6 text document. You can turn off Show Import Options. This will bring in the text from the text file I've given you guys. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You'll notice in here I have labels inside of brackets. Those are just to help you guys differentiate which type of text everything is. You want to remove them as you go. Alright, so I'm removing the bracketed label. I'm going to my first subhead, and I'm setting it to the subhead style of myriad bolds. Pro bold, not bold condensed, but bold. 9 on 10. Alright, now when we talk about 9 on 10 or 9 over 10, the first number is the type size, the second number is your leading. So 9/10 is 9-point type with 10 points leading. We also call it 9 on 10, 9 over 10. That's your subhead style. You want to remove the extra line returns between. You want to style your text to be minion, regular, and that's also 9 on 10. Okay? We remove that label, and then we are going to set up our third paragraph here, which is a caption. And our caption, we want minion italic, so italic type, and we want that smaller. That should be 7 points on 8. And you're going to go through and you are going to duplicate this styling throughout. Actually, you know, I would leave a space before the caption. So 1 line return before the caption. All right, you're going to duplicate this throughout. Now, this can get kind of tedious, right? You're going to go through the entire thing, to paragraph after paragraph. So what I recommend is actually selecting everything and first set everything to be your text style, since the majority of this is going to be text. So minion regular, 9 on 10, and then you can go through and set the subheads to be, and the captions to be the sizes and formattings that you need. All right, that will make this a little bit easier. I'm not going to have a lot to say for the next couple of minutes because I'm actually going to be doing this all for the first column. I do want to say be careful. Be careful that you are selecting and styling the correct parts. Keep an eye on your labels. Be careful that you delete the labels after you've styled each section. You do not want these bracketed labels to remain in there. Some of you may also be asking about line breaks and rags. We are not going to worry about that for this project. So the line breaks and rags, for those of you who are not familiar, are how words break, like the word technology is too long to fit on a line, and it gets broken and hyphenated. And then the rags are the appearance of the right-hand column. We are not going to worry about that for this basic exercise. We are going to have a whole project about line breaks and rags later. You will also notice, as you're going through this, that the text itself, the actual paragraphs, is just from an essay about graphic design, and it's the same every paragraph. Our subheads describe a formatting that we're going to apply, and our captions talk about that formatting. How useful or non-useful there are, their pros and cons. So don't just gloss over this, also read it. It is important. Pro, bold, 9 on 10, remove this space after, move this, and format this caption. Italic, 7 on 8. Now, once we get once we finish number 5, numbers 6 through 8 describe multi-format spacing. So we're going to knock that to the next column. We do that with the Enter key. The Enter key is just a code that says go to the next column. No matter where you are, go to the next column. Now we are going to actually style this text. So our first paragraph, the subhead reads flush left, rag right. So we go to this setting, align left, which it defaults to. Number 2 is centered. We want to center align the text. Now, please note that we are only formatting the text paragraph. We're not formatting the subhead or the caption this way. Number 3 is flush right, ragged left. This is rarely used in English or in other languages that read left to right. Really only useful for very short texts in left to right reading languages, But of course, in a language like Arabic or Hebrew, where you read from right to left, that's the default setting. Justified, last line aligned left, or last line flush left, is this setting. And you can see this gives us more or less space between words to make a perfectly justified line. A lot of new designers love this because they think this looks very neat. The big problem here is that our word spacing is highly irregular. Some lines are super crunched together, others are super spread out. It actually can hinder legibility, can make it harder to read. And then justified all lines is this one. Now there's not a huge difference within our text. In fact, there's no difference at all. But if our text did not fit neatly onto 4 lines, this is here, actually, let me show you guys with this one. Let's say this text doesn't fit neatly onto 4 lines. The last line flush left is what it does with the last remaining line. This one is flush left. So if it can't reasonably fill a whole line, it doesn't try. That's last line flush left. Now let's look at the same thing. This is justified all lines. It will just keep adding more and more and more space to have fully justified text. And look at those last 2 lines. They're just ridiculous to read. In many cases here, the word spacing is larger than the word itself. So if you're going to justify, exercise caution. Justified text really isn't ideal. But if you are going to justify, justified last line flush left is preferable. It's going to give you better results than justifying all lines. Now, our right-hand column, we want to, of course, format this the same way. I'm going to quickly do that. And then I'm going to show you how to apply indents. And now for these samples, we have 2 paragraphs. Our Word file comes pre-formatted with an extra line return between paragraphs. We want to remove those, and you'll see why as we move forward. I'm going to remove your bracketed labels, remove the line returns between paragraphs, and set up formatting for each section appropriately. Okay. Number 6, we have flush left, ragged right, which, as you remember, is our preferred formatting. One pica indent. That means that the beginning of each paragraph indents one pica. So let's set that up. If we go to our paragraph tools, actually let's open window type paragraph to get our paragraph palette, just because that's a little bit easier to use. So you'll notice here we have the second one down is first line left indent. And you can use these buttons. It goes by points to set it to 1 pica, which is 12 points. Or you can just enter the value in the field, 1p, right? And you can see that that gave us a 1 pica indent. So this indicates each new paragraph with this indent. This is very, very commonly used. This is used all the time to indicate a new paragraph. The one rule about this, though, is when you're doing the first paragraph in a chapter or in a section, you generally don't indent the first paragraph. You do indent following paragraphs. Number 7, we're going to do 1 pica extent. So this is a little more unusual. In fact, this is very rarely done, but I'm going to show you how to do it. If we set a left indent for the entire paragraph of 1 pica, so 12 points, and then go to our first line left indent and go backwards, -12. So this indicates the first line out to the margin, and following lines are indented. We call this an exdent. This is exdented out from here. This is used very rarely. This is good for something like a dictionary, possibly, or an index where you want to highlight that first word, but it is rarely used, and it's simply because it takes up so much more space. When you indent the first line, you're using the space of that indent once per paragraph. If you exdent, that means you're taking up that space, well, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. For this first paragraph, you're taking it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times for the second paragraph. This can add up. This really adds up. You can see even just here with these very short 2 paragraphs we had that the first paragraph is taking up an extra line because of it, and that the second paragraph, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the second paragraph is taking up the same number of lines, but we are very close. If it were even just a few words longer, it would bump to another line. So this option looks unusual to our eyes. It takes up a lot of space. It isn't used very often. And then number 8, we're going to indicate the paragraphs with a space after. So we go to this space after 1 pica. So this inserts a space after each paragraph. This can give text a much more open airy look. It gives a nice pause between paragraphs. It does use more space, but the one thing to note is you would either do the indent or the exdent. Obviously, you can't do both indent and exdent since they're opposites, but you do one of those or the space after. If you have space after each paragraph, you don't need to indent, and if you're indenting, you don't need the space after. All right, so this is our page 1. You're going to want to print this. You're going to want to proof it carefully. Make sure you've removed all the labels. Make sure that all of your formatting is as described in the subheads. Make sure it's beautiful. Now let's move on to page 2. Page 2 is going to be a little bit more fun. In your Pages palette, you can go down here and create a new page. And go to page 2. Let's turn our margins back on. Pages 2 and 3 are color contrast scales. So you can look at page 1 and see how formatting affects legibility, and see the pros and cons of some very common formats. Page 2, we are going to explore how color contrast affects legibility. Page 2 and 3 will both be about color contrast. Page 2 will be all black and white. Page 3 we will use colors. So the first thing you want to do is grab your text tool, drag out a text frame that matches your margins. You want to set this text frame to have 5 columns. So you go to Object, Text Frame Options, set this number to 5. You leave the gutter as 1 pica. The gutter are the spaces between columns. You need a gutter if you're going to have text so that the text doesn't just butt right against the other column. All right, so you can see it automatically sets up 5 equal width columns. Hit OK. And now we want to make the height of this box, we want to divide it by 11. Now, so what you do with your box selected with the solid arrow tool, go to here. This is the position of the top corner. It's 5 picas down, 5 picas to the left. This is the actual width of your box. It's 41 picas wide, 54.5 picas tall. You want to make sure that this chain icon is broken, so it's not constraining the proportions, and then simply divide the height by 11. All right, so this is what you should get. You should get a box that is the full width of your margins and 1/11 the height. Now let's say you didn't have this chain icon checked and you do divided by 11, it's going to constrain it, it's going to scale it proportionally, which means you'll get a box like this. So if this happens, hit undo, make sure this chain icon is broken so that you're only affecting the height. The other thing I forgot to do, we need to go back to Object, Text Frame Options, and set an inset spacing. I asked you to set this to 6 points. What this does, this has any type, or in this text frame will be 6 points in from the edges. We want this for this one. Now you want to go to your page 2 of your brief. You'll notice that I have a schematic. This is basically showing you what should be in each of the 5 columns. And then this is an overall page preview of what you're going to see. All right, so left-hand column, we have 2 labels for the backgrounds. The values in these labels will change. The rest are going to remain the same for every single box. All right, so make sure you are referring to this schematic as you work. So I'm going to go back to my text box, and I'm going to set this up according to my schematic. Go to my type tool so I can type 100% K. K stands for black in designer speak. Background. And I'm going to style this type to match the schematic. So I want myriad regular 8 on 9. I'm going to copy this again, return, and have it twice. Now our top label should be colored. You want to get out your swatches palette. Should be colored 100% black, which is the default. That's fine. This one you want to set to paper white, which is going to be white. Now, you're probably going to find that some text, in fact, not probably, you are going to find that some text in this exercise simply disappears on you. Obviously, white text on a white background is invisible. That's what this exercise is all about. Now, you all know that black text on a black background is invisible and white text on a white background is invisible. But the point of this reference scale is to see exactly at what point you can and can no longer read text. Say if we're talking about 40% black on a 60% background, and how the type size affects that, and how the type style, serif or sans serif, affects that. So, onto our column 2. We want to switch back to black type. 9 on 10 myriad. So our text here describes the style. Below that, 6 on 8 myriad. So I want to select that, make that 6 points on 8 points. Then I want a return, and I want to set up 9 on 10 minion. So here I change it to Minion Pro regular, 9 on 10. Copy and paste can be your friend here. So this one I want to copy and paste, then I'm going to set this to be 6 on 8 minion. 6 on 8. Okay, so that's my column 2. All of this is in black. You remember your Enter key will jump you to the next column. I'm actually going to turn on my hidden characters again. The Enter character is nearly invisible. Let's see if we can find it. There it is. that little downward arrow, which is an invisible character, means jump to the next column. This backwards P is called a pilcrow. That means a hard return, a carriage return. You notice we have one here, here, here. So let's go back to actual, not quite actual size, larger than actual size. I'm going to copy that whole column. I'm going to paste it in my column 3. Column 3 is exactly the same, except it will be colored white. All right, so on the white background, that one disappears. Column 4 we are going to do go back to myriad 9 on 10. The first one is going to be black, so 100% K. Remember, K again in designers speak means black. Myriad Pro regular 9 on 10. And we want to set this to be right aligned. Copy this. Paste it. Our second line should be 75% K, and we should go to our color palette. You'll notice here it is now set to be black, 100% tint. You want to switch the tint to 75%. So our label is describing the color. Next is 50%. We'll set this tint to 50%. Please do this in the tint palette, not with the transparency palette. The transparency palette is going to give you wildly unpredictable effects, whereas the tint palette is going to give you the exact value that you ask for. Our fourth line is 25% black. Set that to a tint of 25, and our last one is 0% black. And you can set that tint to 0, or you can switch it to paper white. Either one works. So that's column 4. Myriad regular 9 on 10. Each label is the tint that the label describes. It's stepping down in 25% increments. We want to copy all that, go to our final column, paste that in, and switch it to minion. All right, so that we can see how the actual typeface design affects the legibility as well. There may be many places where something is actually just legible in the serif typeface and not legible in the sans serif. All right, so that is our text box. Now we want to go and set the fill of the first one, of our top one. We want to set the fill of the entire box. So you switch to your arrow selection tool, go to your fill, set that to 100% black. And of course our black text disappears because black on black becomes invisible. You want to copy this. You can do this several ways. You can do Command-C, Command-V, and then bring it back, or you can use my favorite method of holding down Shift and Option and dragging a copy. You want to copy it 10 times. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make your lives slightly easier. Copy it once. Apply the background color. So this second one down, your background color for the whole box should be 90. Then you go into your first column. You adjust these labels to accurately describe the background color. That first column is the only column that you are going to change. The only one. So we will copy this again. Set this background to 80%. 80% black. And you want to do that all the way down the line. You'll do it 10 times until you get to 0% black. And 0% black is white. Make sure that you change both the label and the actual tint. You may have noticed that I almost forgot and skipped one there. If you find that your gradation, your overall gradation is not right, that means you probably may have skipped a step. So this is a project where it's very easy to get a little lost and sort of not see the forest for the trees. You do want to make sure that you keep going back and double checking. So our bottom one, we set our tint to be 0, which is in fact white. And now we have the problem that we can't see this last label at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily change it to magenta, just so that I can edit it to be correct. Then I'm going to take it back to the paper white. Okay, so that's our page 2. We have this gradation and contrast scale, and you can see, you'll be able to see when you print it out what is visible, what is not visible, what is barely legible, barely visible. I know this is a long demo, but that's because I'm building the whole thing for you. You will be able to come back and scrub through this and get to the point you need to get to if you have trouble remembering. So on to our third and final page. So we go back to the Pages palette, create a new page, and this will be the exact same procedure as our previous page, except we're just going to do 8 boxes, and we're going to work with color. So I'm going to go to, I created a box, so this is my whole margin. I'm going to go to Object, Text Frame Options, set up 5 columns, set up my inset spacing, not of 6 picas, but of 6 points. Hit OK. With the arrow tool, divide the height by 8. And this is very similar, except we are working with 8 different colors. You have these 8 colors. I've given you RGB breakdown, CMYK breakdowns for each one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the first box in this video, and then you'll be able to extrapolate how to do the rest. Okay, let's set up our first box. So, going by the schematic, again, our left-hand side, we're doing we're setting up our background label. This is going to be Myriad Pro 9 on 10. The top one will be black. Then we copy it. I'm going to again turn on my hidden characters so I can see all my type returns. This bottom one will be white. Okay. Enter to go to the next column. And now I want to set up, these are basically the same as these guys, so copy and paste is your friend. I'm going to paste that in here, and we're just going to remove this space between. And the first one, we are going to color red. Now, I'm going to show you how to set up new colors in the swatches palette. So we're going to do a new swatch. It will come up as black copy. You double click on it. I like to set it to name it with the color value. It's going to be CMYK. And this is our red. Our value for our red is 100% magenta, 100% yellow, 0% black, 0% cyan. You hit OK, and that's what we want that text to be. All right? Copy it, paste it, the second set, according to our schematic is blue, which is 100% cyan. We already have a swatch for that. Okay? Let's copy and paste again. This one is orange. We need a swatch for orange. New swatch. And our orange is 50% magenta, 100% yellow. Return, paste. Our bottom is indigo. Our indigo is set to be 100% cyan, 100% magenta. We do not already have a swatch for that, so let's make one. 100% cyan, 100% magenta, 0 yellow, 0 black. That's our indigo value. Our next column, this is yellow. We have a swatch for yellow already, 100% yellow. And the bottom is violet. Our violet is specified to be 50% cyan, 100 magenta. So this is different from our indigo. Our indigo is 100 magenta, 100 cyan. Our violet is 50% cyan, 100% magenta. Our last column is, our top is green. Our green is specified to be 100% cyan, 100% yellow. What I'm going to do is actually take the existing swatch and adjust it. So I double clicked on it, switch cyan to 100%, magenta to 0, yellow to 100, black to 0. Okay, and then one last one. Our last color is a brown. So we have the full rainbow spectrum plus brown. Brown is 30% cyan, 50% magenta, 100% yellow. Now, I'm not just making these colors up. You shouldn't just make these colors up. These colors are all specified on page 3 of your project brief. Okay. Now, you want to switch to your arrow tool, set the color background of this box, the first one to red. And you're going to, again, repeat, switch the color to match your specs, and you want to be sure to change these labels to represent the color. So in this case, this becomes 50% magenta, 100% yellow. And you will notice that obviously the red type on the red background is completely illegible and disappears. But where it becomes more interesting and nuanced is, well, how does the blue on red work? How does the indigo on red work? How does the violet on red work? You can technically see they're there, but how legible are they? And this is going to happen throughout. You notice the brown on the orange doesn't work that well. Yellow on the orange, you can see it, but it's hard to read. Blue on orange, because they're complementary colors, they vibrate a lot, which actually makes them very difficult to read. So you're going to go through 8 boxes for page 3. I recommend that you print the whole thing out when you're done. Go through with your trusty red pen. Look for errors. Look for mistakes. Look for things that do not match the sample. And also keep an eye on legibility. What works, what doesn't work. When you're all done, you're going to want to do a clean set of printouts, and you're going to want to create a PDF. I've given you very clear instructions on how to create a PDF. So you have the digital deliverable of the PDF, and then for my live classes, I also want the physical deliverable of printed out pages stapled together in a process book. And that's your contrast scale.